Hi, I'm Chuck Moran from Whittier, California. It will be 32 years this Thanksgiving that Utopia performed the first ever live concert to be simulcast on national cable TV, and 30 years ago this year that they released a VHS version of that concert entitled Evening with Utopia. However, it took all the way till July 2014 for them to release it on DVD, and much to my disappointment, there are no extras like interviews with the band members talking about that particular broadcast, so I'm here to fill that gap because I was an audience member there that night, and I'd like to share my own memories of that particular broadcast. And, I got something rather surprising to tell you, but if you've watched the DVD all the way through, you may know what it is already. That would be late 1978. It was a record store in Bellflower in which the owner would answer the question, "Who sang I Saw the Light?" I always loved that song. And I would go in other record stores, and in the Todd Rundgren bin, I would come across titles like Utopia, Oops, Wrong Planet, Utopia, Raw. And I just thought it was a theme, being that this was shelved in the Todd Rundgren bin. A mystical theme of some sort. There was, pyramids and the Egyptian hieroglyphics, and it was my friend Bob Brisseni who would make reference to Todd Rundgren's band Utopia, and I thought, oh, it's the name of a band. And he would clarify for me that yes, it was a separate entity from his solo work, and that's how I found out. The first time I would see him perform, that was 1979 at the Greek Theater in Los Angeles. And they had been in Los Angeles earlier that year. They played the Roxy. It was 7 nights, 2 shows a night, all sold out. It was the hot ticket to see. And yet the buzz that seemed to come out of that was that it was Todd Rundgren with this band that wasn't really that good. But, my curiosity was piqued, so I managed to get 6th-row tickets, and I went with my friend Nancy Wood, and we're still friends to this day. I can't say we went in with low expectations. We just didn't know what to expect. We didn't know what we were going to hear or anything like that, but I remember 30 minutes into the show, me and her looking at each other and like, why were people saying that? They're pretty good. And I would see them again 8 months later when they were plugging Adventures in Utopia. And by that time, any problems they had, it was completely resolved. This was a Utopia show. Not Todd spotlighting with the other 3 guys. It was a Utopia concert. And from that point on, if that's how Todd was going to appear, I had no problem with it. In 1981, Utopia was scheduled to play Perkins Palace in Pasadena, California, and I knew from rock magazines, that they used to have a lot of them at that time, that they had recorded an album called Swing to the Right, so it was a safe assumption that's what they were going to be there to plug. But Perkins Palace went out of business just before those dates, and so those dates were sold to the Country Club, and that was a small venue, and unfortunately Utopia could not come along, so Todd had to do the shows himself. So it was a review of one of those shows that I would learn that Kazim Sultan had left the band. And so, boy, what did this mean? Did the band break up? Were they going to replace him? Would I ever see these guys again? But 1982 turned out to be a pretty big Utopia year because it was March when Swing to the Right finally got released. So that record was able to hold me for, so many months, but I wasn't expecting anything. I thought Utopia, pretty much broken up. And then my friend Ron Webster calls me up, and I think this was in September, and he says, hey, they're going to be playing the Universal Amphitheater. And really, so we beelined down to the box office, and it was there talking to another fan, we would learn that they would have another album coming out. He didn't know the release date, but there was another Utopia album coming out pretty soon. So it came to reason that that's probably why they were touring. It was at the end of the Universal Amphitheater show. Todd said, if you're doing nothing on Thanksgiving evening, we will be performing a live concert on USA Network. I think it was USA Network. And I believe he said it was going to be simulcast too. I don't really remember that part. I'm just taking a guess there. But he definitely mentioned USA Cable Network, and that all sounded fine and dandy and exciting. The problem being this was 1982, and I don't think I even knew 5 people that had cable TV. So it looked like, oh well, I was going to have to miss this show. But there was some good news in store. Well, I got a call from Suzanne, and she told me that they'd be playing the country club that Wednesday, and wow, really. But unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to go because I didn't have enough money. But Suzanne and her sister Mary were going to go. I got a call Thanksgiving morning, and I was in a groggy state, and it was Mary Stone, that's Suzanne's sister. And it turns out Mary somehow got 2 tickets to the broadcast that night. She says, "Would you like to go?" I said, "Okay." Well, we got there around 6, and as I recall, it wasn't that crowded. That was the first surprise I got. The line did not go way down the street. We thought there'd be a flood of people behind us after we got there. Nothing like that happened. They let us in around 7, and I got right up close to the stage. I was right in front of Roger Powell's keyboard, and Mary was with me, of course, and we weren't even 7 feet away from Todd Rundgren's microphone, so we were up close and personal, and I knew, boy, this was going to be fun. Well, first was about 20 minutes before airtime, and the announcer asked us not to smoke. I mean, I don't smoke, but they asked the smokers not to smoke because Roger Powell had bronchitis. I think it was maybe 10 minutes. They asked the people from the second level to come down to the floor level and stand in so the place would look more crowded. And that's one that's kind of funny in retrospect. And then Flo and Eddie, I don't know if you remember Flo and Eddie from the Turtles, came out to warm up the show and telling us we were going into 22 million homes, blah, blah, blah. But that was the first indication of what the 4 guys were going to go through, because they got under those lights, and I think it was Eddie, he goes, "My God, it's hot under these lights." And oh boy. And then the director came out shortly after that, told us, clap, dance along, don't do anything obnoxious like, grab the band members, or make obscene gestures or anything like that. Look like you're having fun. And they wanted everything to run smooth. And then maybe 3 minutes before, that's when the band members come out. There was no big announcement. They just walked out, and they got their instruments, got in their places. And then I remember, okay, 15 seconds. And then, okay, 10 seconds, 9. And I'm the one who started it. I'm the one who shouted out, 8, 7! And then the whole place was counting down with them, and we were on the air. First memory happened only 2 minutes, I think, after we went on the air. And that was the song Infrared and Ultraviolet. And I know Todd isn't going to like me mentioning this, but turned out Todd's shoes didn't have the best traction. In fact, they really didn't have any traction, because 2 minutes into the song, he did a spin and lost his footing. And boom, down he went. But in that split second, we all thought his head was going to hit the drum stand there. That would put an end to the world's first free concert, and making it one of the shortest in history. But at age 34, he just got right back up, and like a trooper he was, and kept on with the show. And I think it was about the 3rd song was "Couldn't I Just Tell You?" And there was a guy walking around the audience with I guess they call it a spot camera, and he approached. He went to me and Mary, and we assumed at that moment we were going into 22 million homes. And I did as I was told. I clapped and looked like I had a good time and was having fun. And then came the first commercial. And I remember Todd and the band members just like, "God, it is hot up here." And he got his towel and like, whew, oh my. And then Todd goes, gee, there don't seem to be as many people here tonight as there was last night. And Roger goes, yeah, I guess more people show up when they have to pay. And that's when there was like this gasp, and we were like, you mean this concert's free? And here we felt so privileged, you know, to be let in, but it was a free concert. After the first commercial, I don't really remember anything out of the ordinary other than they added a couple of songs. Love Alone and The Very Last Time were not performed at the Universal Amphitheater, so there was that. And, you know, in the meantime, it was just grabbing their towels and drinking lots of water. And when the show ended, I just remember we were rushed out of there. And initially I thought, like, you know, why are we being pushed out of here so rudely, so quickly? You know, what the heck is this about? But only later I would find out that that was supposed to be the last shot of the broadcast, is people walking out. As I recall, I didn't get to see a tape of the broadcast until, I think, January of the next year. It turned out Suzanne did know somebody who had cable, and I guess she begged and pleaded with them to record it, but she couldn't get the tape until then, so she had watched the tape already. I went there the first weekend after she got it, and we watched it together. And yeah, I was caught several times, and that was fun. No, I had no close-up. I did not go into 22 million homes with a single shot as I had thought, but it was still very exciting, and my friends would tease me about it because I was so euphoric about, oh, there's my right arm there, and there's the back of my head there, that's me clapping there, and they would tease me about it. Oh, that's the back of my left hand there. And all as I could say to that is that, boy, was I going to get a last laugh on this one. In retrospect, yes. It was the end of 1983, and Todd did a bunch of solo shows. And he did a couple here in LA, and he did a video store appearance, and he autographed my album, and I was standing behind the rope. And, you know, it's Todd's thing to just dart his head all over the place. And then he just like stopped on me like this, and kept looking, and finally I leaned forward and I just said, are you going to put any of these on Laserdisc? That's what broke the tension, and it wouldn't be for 2.5 months that I would find out why he was staring at me like that. My best recollection is that at the beginning of 1984 I bought a new VCR, and I know the very first videos I ever ordered was Videosyncrasy and the Utopia sampler, so I'm pretty sure at that time I knew about or learned about Evening with Utopia, figuring it was the broadcast edited down for home video. It was right after I put my TV and VCR together, and I was going to school at that time, and I was doing a paper, and being that I had seen the broadcast version already, I knew what to expect, so I was running the tape and kind of doing my homework at the same time. So it was like glancing up, glancing down. I would usually glance at more at the end of songs, you know, because I figured that's where they would have to insert shots and stuff like that. And to think, I could have missed my little surprise. When Couldn't I Just Tell You played, you know, I paid more attention, thinking, okay, this is where, you know, this is where my shot comes in. And yeah, wasn't used, and all right, went back to what I was doing. And then You Make Me Crazy comes on. And then the song ended, and I glanced up, and yeah, a few new shots. And then Rock Love started. And then I looked up, and surprise! The first reaction I can remember is that my mom was vacuuming in the back of the house, and I let out this big loud scream, "Mom!" And she comes running out there. What happened? What happened? Look, 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 look! That wouldn't actually start till about 1.5 years later. Utopia would be touring with the Tubes, and I was determined that I would, you know, that I would let them know that I knew I was on that video. And so my friend Ron Sled came over the house and took a picture of me holding the video box showing my close-up on the TV. and I had that picture blown up, and I taped a caption underneath it thanking them. This was very exciting, very happy to be on it, blah, blah, blah. Went to the Pacific Amphitheater show, and one of the backstage people, when I showed him what it was, he assured me he would give it to the guys. Now, the reason for telling that story is that shortly after that, my Todd friend, Kathy Kervink, and we're still friends to this day, she's the one that told me about a fan promotional network. Is that what it was called? For Todd Rundgren and Utopia, and it was called the Nexus. It was a fan club, but not a fan club. But she's the one who let me in on it, and so I paid my membership, and shortly after wrote an article for the newsletter, and it published that picture, and that's really when things kind of started after that article come out. Well, after that article come out, I got 2 letters, one from Julie Ferreira in Cincinnati and another from Doug Kennedy from New Jersey. And me and Doug Kennedy are still friends to this day, by the way. And in both instances, they wrote and told me that they saw my picture in Utopia Times and recognized me right away. They knew who I was before reading the article. The most unexpected one happened at a record meet in Buena Park, California, and I think this was about 1989 or so. And this guy was going to buy the red vinyl version of Herman of Mink Hollow, and I walked up to him and I said, "Excuse me, you're not really thinking of buying that, are you?" And he goes, "Well, as a matter of fact, yes, I'm going to." And he looks at me and he goes, "Hey, you're the guy on the video, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And barely 20 seconds later, I got tapped on the shoulder and turned around, and this other guy, "Excuse me, are you the guy on the Utopia video?" So I was recognized by 2 people at a record meet in Buena Park in less than 30 seconds. And so there was that. The funniest one, for lack of a better word, funny, but that happened at the Utopia reunion show in Santa Clara in 1992. And it's finally my chance to voice my displeasure with the band in that we had to wait 2 hours and 40 minutes after being let in before the show started. But that hot, damp, awful place. But anyway, during the waiting period, somebody touched my arm and I turned around and it was this girl that was just like, "Excuse me, are you the guy on the video?" And I smiled and I said, "Yes, I am." And she turns around and she goes, "It's him." And then the guy standing, like, I don't know, 5 feet behind goes, "I told you that was him." And that was probably one of the last times I got recognized from that, but I thought that was kind of funny. Todd acknowledged me, and there's a story on that one, because what happened is that, Todd being Todd, I never got anything in the mail. I never heard from him or anything like that. He was running off the stage at the end of his a cappella show, and I threw another picture at him, and I said, "I'm on your video! I'm on your video!" And he looked at it and he goes, "I've seen this!" And he runs off. And here's the part that's going to make Todd laugh if he's watching this. That happened to be at the end of the Fenders in Long Beach show. So with that, Todd's probably going to think, "Oh man, really?" Because let's just say things didn't go smoothly, and I don't think Todd really gave a crap about my close-up on that video. But I met Chasm. I got to tell Chasm. I met Roger. I told Roger, and I talked to Willie Wilcox on the phone. Willie was calling all the Los Angeles area Nexus members to call the radio stations and plug We Connect. So I was able to tell him. So I was able to tell all 4 members at one time or another. I'm sure they remember it now, but. Well, for starters, as of the time of this recording, all 4 band members are still with us, and I'm very happy at age 54 to also still be alive to talk about this. I'm very excited that they have brought this out on DVD. I always did wonder why they didn't do that sooner. I didn't know the masters had been destroyed, and I didn't know who owned the rights. But I'm glad they released it, and there's now a permanent record of my close-up, and now people will believe me when I tell them about it. But even without the close-up, I was very proud to be in that audience. It's a very happy memory to have, and I'm really excited to be able to relive it all over again 30 years later.